What's up, backpackers? Hope you guys are doing well. I started out recording this video thinking I was just going to make one video talking about all the pieces of gear that I got for under $500 to get into backpacking. However, after recording for a while, I realized that I want to go really in depth with all the gear that I'm going to talk about. So rather than just one really long video, I am actually going to split this off into a couple different ones. This video in particular is going to be focused all around backpacks, specifically the Teton here, which is what I started out with and what I would recommend any new backpacker start out with. We're also going to talk about the Osprey over there, which is a piece of gear that I've upgraded to recently. We're going to talk about some likes, dislikes for both, what I would recommend you guys to get, and then there's going to be links to videos for every other piece of gear that you're going to need to get started for under $500 down in the description below. That being said, this one's going to be focused all around backpacks, so let's get into it. This is the Teton Sports Scout 3400. It's a 55-liter pack that I picked up on Amazon for about $89.99. I do think, however, that this one goes on sale pretty regularly, so you may even be able to pick it up for cheaper than that. But I'll put the links to this as well as every other piece of gear that I talk about down in the description below. I'm not telling you have to go out and buy any of this stuff, but if something catches your eye and you want to check it out for yourself, all the links will be in the description. Before we dive into things, I do want to say that this is one of the pieces of gear that I decided to upgrade over the years. Obviously, not because I don't like this pack, but after hiking a bunch of miles in it and doing a few backpacking trips, I realized that it's not quite built for someone my height. I am 6'2", so I'm pretty tall, and I noticed that after hiking a lot in this, the hip belts are riding a little bit high on me. They kind of bounce up and rub on my hip rather than being stable and providing the support that it is supposed to. So no gripes against this pack. I don't think it's a pack issue. I think I'm just a little bit too tall for really who this is designed for. So that's why I ended up upgrading. But I think that this pack has plenty of positives on its own, and I will talk about some of the other little reasons I decided to upgrade and dive more into the other pack in a little bit. But for now, let's dive into some of the things that I really like about this pack. The first thing I like about this pack is its size. I think 55 liters is really good starting out for new backpackers. Anywhere between that 55 and 65 liters, I think, is going to be the sweet spot. Anything below 55 and you run the risk of running out of space because a lot of the gear that you buy as a beginner may not be the most compact, but anything above the 65, maybe 68 liter, you run the risk of just having a bunch of extra space at the top that you're not using. So you just add a bunch of extra weight for no reason, and then as time goes on, you upgrade some of your gear. More than likely, that gear is going to get smaller and take up less space. So starting out with between 55 and 65, forcing yourself to make it work is going to save you some weight and be a little more future-proof. Another thing I like about this pack is the number of pockets that it has. If you're like me, I like to stay really organized when I go backpacking. I like to know where all my stuff is all the time. It makes getting to camp and pulling stuff out along the trail a lot easier. So I really like that this one's got a good number of pockets on it. It has this one on the top of the brain here that is easily accessible without even having to open the pack. I think this pack now comes with a rainfly, which is nice because when I bought it, it did not. So that's a good improvement. You can put your rainfly in there as well as like a headlamp, so you can pull it out super easily without even having to open the pack up. It also has a pocket on the inside of the brain that is a little bit more protected from the weather, but still very easily accessible. I like to put like a first aid kit, a lighter, stuff like that in there. One negative I'll say about this pack is that it does not have any hip belt pockets. However, it does have these pretty large pockets right above the water bottle pouches that function almost the same. Not quite as easy to get to as a hip belt pocket, but still very accessible on the outside of your pack. It's really nice for trail snacks, stuff like that. You could put like bear spray or some dry bags because you never know when you may need to cover up like a camera, for instance. So these pockets are really big, a lot bigger than most hip belt pockets, which is nice. But I do kind of wish that it also had some little pouches down here on the hip just for easy access without having to take the pack off at all. What I really like about it is that it has this bottom compartment here that you can unzip and put like a sleeping bag or a tent or some clothes, stuff like that down there. And it's really cool because it has the option to completely zip off from the rest of the pack. So if you want to just throw a bunch of clothes in there, create kind of a support on the bottom of your pack, you can zip that off and just have that all nice and easily accessible for when you get in your tent and you need to get out your clothes. So I think that's a really cool feature that I don't see very often, that I kind of miss after upgrading to that guy. It also has these little top bungees that is really nice when you're starting out because it's a 55-liter pack. So if you find yourself needing a little bit more space, you can take something out of your pack that's pretty light and just strap it to the top here. Same goes for these straps down at the bottom. As you can see, I have a chair strapped into here right now. I wouldn't recommend putting like a sleeping bag out here if you can help it, just because if it does rain, the sleeping bag is safer to put on the inside. But like a tent or a chair or something like that, a sleeping pad even, you can strap it onto the outside, save yourself some room. And the main reason that I put it out here, because I really don't need to, but I do it anyways, because when I set my pack up like that, it tends to fall over. But if you have something there, it almost still falls over, but it helps catch it. So I like to strap something. This chair is 1 pound. I'll talk about it later, but it weighs nothing. It just provides a little bit of support for when I set my pack down so that it doesn't fall over. But it does, these loosen up so you can fit something quite big on there. Tent, sleeping pad, anything like that, you can strap to the front if you run out of space on the inside. So that's really nice. Obviously, it's got the water bottle pouches on the side. They're not too big. I don't know if you could fit like a big Nalgene bottle in here, but it works perfect for smart water bottles, stuff like that. And then on the inside, it has an inner pocket for a water bladder, which I personally do use. I know a lot of people don't really like bladders, but I have used them forever, and I really like the accessibility of having the straw just run right up the front of my pack like this. Makes it so that I don't forget to drink water. It's just right there in my face all the time. Super easy to take a sip while I'm hiking without having to stop and pull out my water bottle. So the pocket on the inside is perfect size for anywhere, I think, between 1 liter and 3 liter bladder. And then it's got a hole in the back of the pack that you can run the straw out of. It's also got this little Velcro that you can strap your bladder to keep it from falling all the way down in your pack and making it a little bit harder to get to. So I really like that. Makes pulling your bladder out, refilling it with some clean water that much easier. This pack also has an adjustable torso, so you can just unvelcro. You can loosen up the shoulder straps here, and then you can move this up or down depending on how tall you are, and then just Velcro it back in. This makes it nice for, like I said, anyone under 6 foot. You can adjust this so that the length between the top of the shoulders and the hip is just right for you. You may have to do some experimenting, throw some weight in the pack, throw it on, see how it fits, and then tighten it to your liking. With all that being said, I do think this is a really great backpack for someone that's just starting out. For under $100, it's really tough to beat. I like the hydration carrier, I like the number of pockets it has, and I really like the ability to add gear onto the outside of your pack if you need to, which when you're starting out, there's a pretty good chance that you will need to. So it's nice to have that option. Now, there are obviously going to be some flaws that come with getting a sub $100 backpack, first of which being weight. This is made out of a 600D polyester fabric, which is very durable. I would not worry about this thing ripping on you. However, it's not the lightest material in the world. This pack weighs 4 pounds and a quarter. It's now advertised at 4.5 pounds. I'm assuming because they now include the Rainfly, which adds just a little bit of weight. But 4.5 pounds is not terrible, but it could be lighter. For under $100. I think it's going to be really tough to beat that. And it doesn't feel super heavy. However, it carries a lot of weight. I think I was carrying about 35 pounds when I was starting out, and this thing carried it very comfortably. Even with the hip belt not being exactly right, I was still very comfortable in this pack. So that's just one of the reasons I decided to upgrade. The Osprey is just a little bit over 2 pounds, but not a huge deal. Another thing I would say is the hip belt pockets. I didn't think about it, and I didn't even care when I was using this because it was my one and only pack. I never had hip belt pockets, so I didn't think about the pockets. But now that I do have them, and I can just take out my snacks on the trail without having to remove my backpack, I really, really like that. And if I get another backpack in the future, I will definitely be looking for something that has those hip pockets. The last thing, like I said, I don't think this is a flaw of the backpack itself, but it's the torso adjustment. It just doesn't get quite tall enough for me, who's 6'2". I can't blame that on the pack. It's just one of the negatives for me, and why I decided to upgrade is because it just doesn't get quite tall enough for me. So All that being said, I'm going to move this out of the way and we can start talking about what I upgraded to, how much that was, and specs on that guy. This is the Osprey Exos 58. It retails for $260 on the Osprey website as well as REI. However, I was able to pick it up at Sierra for $150, which, if you don't know what Sierra is, it's basically the TJ Maxx version of REI. It's a really great place to find high-end gear that's heavily marked down. They also rotate their stock out pretty regularly, so what you see there one week may be completely different from what you see there the next week. So if you have a Sierra close by, I would totally recommend checking it out. It is a great place to find some budget beginner backpacking gear. That all being said, there are a lot of similarities between this pack and the Teton that we talked about. However, there are some differences that obviously makes the price go up a little, but also makes for a more enjoyable hiking experience. So let's get into some of the details on this guy, starting with the pockets. Just like the Teton, this one does have the pocket on the top of the brain here that you can access without having to open up the pack, as well as the pocket on the inside of the brain that you can just unclip here, open up the brain, and get to it right there. Now, I will say I like the water bottle pockets on this one quite a bit more than I did on the Teton. They're just a lot larger, and they're made out of this nice mesh stretchy material, so it can fit a lot more stuff in it. Good for smart water bottles. It can definitely fit an Nalgene. And then even if there's some gear that you can't quite fit on the inside, you may be able to put it in the water bottle pockets. That same stretchy mesh material is used for the front pocket, which is quite a bit larger than the front pocket on the Teton. It's a really great size for like rain shells, a bathroom kit, any extra layers you may want easily accessible. So I really like that pocket quite a bit more than I did on the Teton. It does still have the hydration bladder pocket in the back of the pack on the inside, as well as a haul to run the straw out of. Now, it doesn't have bungees on the top of the brain like the Teton did, so it's a little bit harder to strap gear on the top of your pack. It does have these little loops that you can see I have my carabiner on, but I wouldn't really recommend putting any gear on top of this pack. However, it does have similar straps down on the bottom here that you can throw on a chair, sleeping pad, stuff like that. If you do run out of space on the inside and you need to strap something to the pack, you can still do so on the bottom. It also has this little on-the-go, quick detached trekking pole holder here, which I never really use, but it is kind of nice to have the option to just slide your poles through there and tighten it up rather than having to take your pack off and shove them in like a water bottle pocket or something. Let's go ahead and turn this pack around, and I want to show you some of the things that makes this pack really stand out to me. The first of which being this airspeed backing they use. The actual pack itself is about 2 inches away from you, and what's actually touching you is this really lightweight open mesh. And what that does is it allows for airflow to get through to your back, and it keeps your back from sweating, keeps the pack off of you. And I really like that it is pretty flexible material. So if I need to bend over or something when I'm backpacking, this just kind of forms to my back rather than just being a solid frame. And so that makes it a lot more comfortable. It keeps my back from sweating. And I think that that is a really nice feature that is on this pack. Another thing I like is the torso adjustment. This pack comes in 2 sizes. There's small to medium and then large to extra large. So me being 6'2", I was able to get the large and have it fit really nicely. However, if you do need to go in and do some finer tuning to the height, you can move these little clips up or down, lock it in place. It's super easy to do, very robust and durable. And I just really like this torso adjustment system more than the one on the Teton. The last big bonus that I've touched on already is the hip belt pockets. They're not the biggest pockets in the world, but they've got plenty of space for trail snacks. And for me, I like to put a GoPro and a few spare camera batteries in my other pocket. It's just really nice to have access to those things on the trail without having to take your backpack off. Another nice feature of this pack is you have the ability to remove the brain altogether. If you fold this up, you can see that the brain is just held on by the 2 straps on either side. You can just take those straps off and take the brain off completely. And then there's this little flap on the inside that acts as the new cover. It's not quite as weatherproof, and you do lose the pockets on the inside and outside of the brain. But if you're someone looking to save all the weight that you can, it is nice to have the option to remove the brain altogether. The Exos is made out of a 400 denier nylon fabric, which is a bit lighter than the polyester on the Teton. This pack weighs 2 pounds, 15 ounces. And if you get the small or medium version, it's going to weigh even a little bit less than that. However, it is still very durable, and I definitely don't worry about this thing ripping on me. Now, this pack does come with some negatives, first of which being price. $260 is pretty steep, and I know a lot of people watching this video probably are not looking to spend that much, which is totally reasonable. I really just mainly wanted to show you guys some of the features you start to see when you do get into the higher end packs, so you can kind of make the decision for yourself if that is worth it, or if you save $100 or $200 and are okay with missing out on some of that stuff. Another negative for me would be the lack of buckles on this pack. They were trying to go as ultralight as possible, so they removed the buckles in a lot of places that most packs do have them. For instance, the section down here where I like to put my chair, it's kind of annoying to have to uncinch these every time I want to put my chair in and then tighten them back up so it doesn't fall out. I would really like it if I could just set that to one length and then just clip it in and then unclip it when I want to take that piece of gear off. Another place I'd love to see a buckle is over the water bottle pockets. There's just one long string that runs up the entire side of the pack, which also covers the water bottle pocket. And what that means is when I cinch the pack tight, I'm also cinching the water bottle pocket tight. And I would love the ability to just have a buckle there that I could unclip, take out my water bottle, put it back in, and then reclip it, rather than having to pretty much loosen up the entire pack. Now, that's not a huge deal, but I do think that the ease of access of having a couple extra buckles on there would be totally worth just the littlest bit of extra weight. All right, we've covered a lot of details, both on the Scout 3400 and the Exos 58. But at the end of the day, as a beginner backpacker, which one should you get? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. These are both great packs that definitely each have a place. I would say if you're only going out a couple times a year for a weekend or two, then the Teton here is going to be more than enough to keep you happy and comfortable on the trail without burning a hole in your wallet. Now, if you really want to get into backpacking and do some more extensive trips, it might be worth spending a little bit more and get something like the Osprey there. It's going to keep you a little bit more comfortable, and hiking for a long time, you may notice that some of those extra features that come with a high-end pack are really useful. That being said, I really love the Osprey and I'm really happy with that upgrade, but I don't regret starting out with the Teton at all. I think that this was the perfect pack to get me into backpacking on a budget and really allow me to enjoy it. And then over the years, I've had the opportunity to upgrade some of my gear, and it's allowed me to enjoy it even a little bit more. But starting out on a tight budget, I think that the Teton is absolutely perfect. These are both great packs that definitely each have their place, but really it comes down to you and your budget and your preference on some of the features. And I'd say more than anything, how the pack fits. So what I would recommend all you guys do is just go and try on some packs. Go to a place like Sierra or REI and just try on a couple things, see what size you like, see some of the features that are available at different price points, and then kind of go and make your decision from there. Obviously, I love these packs, but there are tons out there to choose from that may even fit you and your preference better. So I think it's important to just go out and do some of your own research, try on some packs for yourself, and hopefully you'll find the perfect one. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I really hope that this helps you find a backpack that works great for you. I do also want to remind you that I'm going to make videos for every single piece of gear that you need to start backpacking on a budget for under $500. I'm going to put links to those videos as they come out down in the description below. So make sure you check those out too. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If this was useful and you want to see more videos like it, please remember to like and subscribe.